That's tough. That's tough. You is tough. I never did that. I knew it. Oh, what a fuck. I'm not good stuff back there. I've been here for every time. And he told me to sit here down the aisle.
It's gonna be slow mo. Ready, quick, go.
Good. Operator, sir? No? Get lost!
take unknown past the infatuation face right in the thick of love. Times we sick of love. Seems like we argue every day. Although I sweet late, you made your mistakes. We all still got room back to grow. And though love sometimes hurts, I'll still put you first. We'll make this thing work, but I think we should take it slow. We're just ordinary people. We don't know which way to go. Cause we're ordinary people. Maybe we should take it slow. Take it slow. Oh, this will take it slow. Take it slow. Oh, this will take it slow. Take it slow. Oh, this will take it slow. Take it slow. Oh, listen, we'll take it slow.
also, I love you.
Mauso Lafayette, I love and miss you.
My little Bella.
Love you, Uncle Lafayette.
I miss you.
I miss you.
You're my brother. Love you.
My brother, Maruso.
Lafayette,
Love you too.
Mr. Peace, we miss you.
So, I'll see you in this life. I fight, I love you, I miss you, I always be thinking about you. Oh yeah!
My number one. I love you.
Lafayette, my also. Love you, bro.
Lafayette, I love you. Uncle Lafayette died.
See you later, Uso. I'm gonna miss you. Love you. So, I love you.
Also, we love you.
So, I love you.
Also, I love you.
It's my best friend.
Love you also. Too many animals.
Sacrifice. I love you, brother. I miss you so.
You will always be in here and in here. Love you, baby.
Love you, Lafayette, and little walk. This is you.
Brother Lafayette, we miss you so. Not right, love you. Releasing the rest of you.
I love you. Spotless for life, baby.
Mine too.
Papa, I love you.
Also, love you. Miss you, Leffy. Rest in love, Mauso. Also, love you, father.
Also, love you.
To my brother Lafayette, I just want to say I love you and I miss you also. And may you rest in peace. Love you, bud.
But our first speech for tonight, I have an honor of the tribute of Lafayette, is his partner in crime, Ebony and Ivan, Danny Moses.
When I was asked, I was kind of blown away. It's such an honor to even stand on this stage where you go. It's just a story that's just been so embedded in my brain. And this is just the one I want to share. Last year we spent most of our Friday night sitting on the floor talking about God and wrestling with tough questions and wrestling with whatever was on our hearts. And this time when my faith was just tested to its core. And I was talking to him about it. I don't know what God is. He was slapping me across the back of the head. He goes, he's in this air you're breathing. And I went back to that walk and I found out. I was just screaming top of my lungs, so angry, so heartbroken. And I just felt this breeze just hit me. And all that I felt was just a slap on the back of the head. And just heard that voice, he's in the air you breathe. There's one thing that I taught me was to be a man of faith. So I just want to honour him today. There's no words, there's no answers, there's no divine reason. But I know if you're standing around next to me, it's like God willing. Just thank you for the opportunity to share, family. Thank you for your son's impact on my life. He changed it. With what I want to be and I'm going to be. Thank you for each and every one of you here. I would just be so honoured.
Right, you guys. Seems like yesterday, when Grant became our son-in-law 6 weeks ago, introduced us to this skinny little cousin of Big Camp. That was 2014. Levi had just left his home in Melbourne to live on the Central Coast. He left his family, his network of friends, a place where he'd called home for so long. It was a time of change. So Grant took Levi under his wing, but he was way more than a cousin. Grant would call it a brother relationship. He loved him like a father. Just as the song says, if you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Grant was the light that guided Levi over the past 2 years. In no time, Levi was making new friends and singing up in front of church. I've seen few people lead worship like Levi. A few months later, he was part of the worship team at the Chosen Conference. This event is held in Port Macquarie every 2 years for the youth ages 15 and 16 for potential leaders. The youth listen to inspiring speakers and the experience gives them a great foundation. It's an honour to attend. Well, Levi, Nimrod and Adam Schultz took worship each night. Levi would have heard those same amazing, inspiring speakers that week. It would have been a huge influence in his journey. I want to honour the church for putting that program together. When Nimrod left Central Coast Community Church to start at Haven, Levi followed. I'm told that Nimrod wasn't the main attraction. At the Haven, in a big camp, summer camps, his talent was becoming far and wide. When Levi lived at home, he was a school captain and a popular kid. But his mum made sure he didn't get a big head. So when he shifted to Central Coast, our daughter Rachel took over the mum's role as ego police. And there was no way he'd get full of himself, not while she was around. Our family has learned a lot about the Samoan culture. There's a definite hierarchy, pecking order, a food chain if you like. You must respect those above you. So when Grant said to Levi, jump, Levi would say, how high? Grant made sure Levi always gave 100%, whether it was at work, gym, or serving in church. Grant taught Levi the value of service to others. In fact, throughout his life, Grant has always been a huge influence on Levi. But none more than the past 2 years where he was Grant's shadow. Levi couldn't have asked for a better mentor. I'm told Arnold was also Levi's shadow. And that was it. I won't go there. If Grant had a job to do, he would always get Levi in on it as well.
When I needed help with heavy jobs around the house, I asked Grant. He always brought the fire, even though he's the skinny one. There was Charlie and a few others. As a thank you, I cooked for the boys, and when they would pick on the fire, I stand up for him. Levi's first big camp, he would be invited to sing at different tents. And I requested that he sing for me at our tent, which he shared with Grant and us. He sat down and asked what I would like him to sing. I got him to myself for half an hour. And he sang my request, including Amazing Grace. Thank you, Levi. And we'll see you in the morning, and we'll go home when Jesus comes.
Levi was loving and generous, and earlier this year he returned from a trip to the US and he brought with him a few gifts. One being a huge box of cereal, which he discovered there. I mean, who brings a box of cereal? It stayed in our pantry for ages because no one would eat it. It was so full of sugar. So we managed to pass it on, and it's found a home amongst the floral tributes next to a lamppost in Currumbong. Lafai was part of a Samoan community who shares a strong love for each other, who supports each other, pours love on each other's kids. It's a community which my family is now connected with, and what a privilege. I guess it's a bit like the early church we read about in Acts 2, where the community was tight and looked out for each other. As a church family, this is something we need to strive for and protect with a passion. And there's a resilience. There is something that you won't read in the book of Acts, and that's an irreverent sense of humour. This community can find humour in any situation. Last Tuesday night at the crash site, I had to leave the scene and come back a little bit later. And when I returned, in the darkness, there was tears and even a bit of laughter. Lafai was the king of this trait. There was no situation where a joke couldn't be found somewhere. He could break the tension in any crisis. I love that about him.
At Rachel and Grant's wedding, Lafai performed a special item with Wiley and Arnold, as you saw some of the video of today. There were 5 groomsmen, but these guys weren't in the bridal party, so they performed a special item called the Leftover Boys. It was hilarious and one of the highlights of the reception. God placed the fire in the paths, in our paths, and we are all richer for it. Jacob here will miss Mr. Skinny, as he called him. God placed Grant in Lafai's path, and Lafai was richer for it. In the past 2 years, his growth was huge, not just in the gym sessions with the boys, but in life, and especially with his relationship with God. So 6 weeks ago, as Rachel walked down the aisle to the lone sound of guitar played by Lafai, what more fitting tribute could there be than him singing Count on Me? It was meant to be a tribute between Rachel and Grant. But it could have just as easily been Lafai saying to Grant and Rachel, "Hey, I've learned from you, Grant. You can count on me. I'm here for you guys, my family." Whilst at the same time, it could have been a tribute from Lafai to God, saying, "You can count on me. You say jump, and I'm now ready to say how high."
Talk about the man. Why? He was like son to me, and his integrity is just unmeasurable. He called me out one time and he goes, "Is it okay if I come and talk to you?" Yeah, sure, it's okay. So we made a time for him to come over, and I used to, I remember Taylor when she was little, like, when the time comes and you find someone special, this guy can't come and look at me in the eye and shake my hand and tell me what his intentions are. I don't want to know him. So for some reason or other, if I got it in his head that he's going to come and talk to me, I can make it tough for this boy, or let's see what he's got to say. So anyway, I invited him for dinner, and he came over. We changed time a couple of times because it's Samoan time, so we were trying to So we eventually agreed on a Wednesday, and I knew Taylor had to go out. Tuesday, yeah. I knew Taylor had to go out, and he said, "Well, come over for tea." And so he came over, and Taylor's looking and going, "What are you doing here?" Type thing. She had no idea he was coming. And anyway, Taylor had to leave, and Lafai stayed, and she's looking and going, "What are you doing? Staying here? I'm going away." And so Taylor left, and Lafai says this thing, and he goes, "I'm interested in your daughter." I I'd like to develop a relationship with her, and if that's okay with you, a special relationship, that's the word. So I said, yeah, sure, let's talk about this a bit. And we probably discussed it. Yeah, a couple of hours we had a good long discussion about where he's going, what he's doing, and what his intent is for Taylor, and why is it special, and we covered a lot of aspects which I'm not going to go into. No parking, no, all the rules are laid out. And he agreed to all the rules. I said, I'm trying to make this as hard as I can for the boy, and he's just gone, yeah, sure, I understand where you're coming from as a father. Your daughter is special, and he respected that. So he showed me at that point of time that it was integrity. Now, when Taylor came home, I said, look, I talked to us. He's thinking that he'd like to make a special relationship, and she had no idea he was going to talk to us. She hadn't even told Levi that, you need to speak to my father. He just did it. And going, this is really weird, because I'm sure Taylor must have told her. And she said, no, I didn't tell him. And so that's the way it started. From my point of view, I knew there was something happening because she kept disappearing to Friday night meetings, going up to this one over here, and they're going, what's the attraction? Why is she driving all the way to Avondale? She never wanted to do that before. So we talked about that for a while, and it was all good. And the man, sort of spending 6 weeks with him over in the States when he came over to visit Taylor, I was pretty sure we were going to find some crinks in the armour, and he can't be as good as it seems. Like everything he does just seems to be like perfect. And this boy's either a really good actor, or he's genuinely in love with my daughter. And I did know why, yeah, okay. But when Tuesday night came on, it just tore my heart. And as a father, watching my kids go through pain, and the love that I found that I didn't think that I would have for Levi, taking my girl, I'm going to be serious. Yeah, it hit me pretty hard. And Charlie and Deborah, I just had a little inkling of what pain you would be going through right now. And Michael, everything he did, everything he touched, sang, just showed his heart all the time. His heart was special. He'd walk into a room, and it could be 10 people in the room, it could be 500 people in the room, and every one of those people were touched without him going overboard or trying to sell anything. Everyone could see God in him. They could see that he was genuine, he had integrity, he had all the measurable things, all the characters that you would expect in an older man, not someone who's just 20 years old. He was way beyond measurable. And I'm glad that I got to know him over the last year. He showed me God in so many ways. Ways that I didn't think measurable. He showed me that I could have fun with my Christianity and still be knowing there's a relationship building. And I can tell, we went to, I'm trying to think of the right word for it without being we went to a black church. All Michael wanted to do in the States was go to one of these churches. And we're going, okay, we found this church before he got there. Michael's going to love this. And we went, and the choir sang, and it happened to be the mass choir on that day. And Michael was invited to worship with that, and absolutely loved it. And then what happened was the minister got up and started singing a cappella, no music. And you hear a pin drop, and you can see Michael's lights come on. That's my passion. I could do this. I could sing and I could preach. I could do something like this. And if you see the transition, and that'd be something to see. And then when he signed up at Avondale to do the ministry workforce, we were so excited as a family that he found what he really wanted to do. And it was not that he was just doing teaching for the sake of doing it because he loved music. He's actually found where he can take his relationship with God and try and share it with everybody. I know Michael's ambition was that everyone would get to know what person he knew, and that's more important to him than anything else. These guys. I don't know any other young man that would come and not only buy me a Wallaby shirt, but he's an All Black supporter. And he brought me a Wallaby shirt, which I thought was fantastic. Well, I had known one before, and so I did the return favour and I brought him an All Black jumper. I had to walk to the store and actually buy one. But when the World Cup came through, he could have gone with his mates, he could have gone to the pros, could have done a lot of things, but he came with my clubs and sat with me watching the World Cup final. Just a tourist, but Taylor was off somewhere and going to that thing, and Taylor was we were just having boys' time. It was good. I mean, we actually had boy dates as well. We went to movies together and things. And I don't know a young man who would take the time out to spend with an old father like me and enjoy it at the same time. Yeah.
I'll say it wrongly because I know if I would laugh. Uso. I'm not going to lie. Man, Michael, if I had a bit of a rocky beginning, I was just like, oh, that's my sister's boyfriend. I'll just leave them over there and I'll do my own thing. But we were in America and spending a lot of time together. And I realised, because everyone knows that Taylor's a certain character, a lovely character, but we both bonded over her annoying traits. But at the same time, we both loved her, and it was at that point that we just skyrocketed and just started hanging out with each other more and more. Yeah, we came close to Usos. I just want to tell one quick story about some shoes. There's photos, but we went shopping one day, Christmas shopping for each other, and he's like, oh, I'm looking for some shoes for myself, so I might as well look at one there. And a pair of size. Well, a nice pair they like, this is the one, these boots. My friends will be proud of me, they like these boots. I don't know why. But it was only in size 9. The flyer comes in the store, oh, I'm size 9. Yeah, I'll take them, I like them too. It's like, oh, okay, man. So, we're like, oh, we'll come back a bit later. So, we left. And I got the bright idea, well, why don't we buy it for it? So, like, yeah, that's good. Me and Mum agreed, so we set up this plan. One would distract Michael while I run back and like organise getting the shoes for him. And he bought the shoes, but then we're like, oh, how are we going to stop him from coming back? We're going to have to lie to him. So I went up to him, like, fine. I went back and I ordered some shoes for myself. And he was like, I was trying to be like that classic girl stereotype. I can't wear the same dress, can't wear the same shoes. So I played that card. And it's like, oh no, it's cool man, you have it. And yeah, so he kept shopping, he kept looking. He looked for ages. Christmas Day comes around, he opened the shoes and he's beaming. He was so happy, and that little story how he was just happy to give me the shoes even though he liked it as well. It just shows his dedication to just making other people happy. To a brother, to an Uso, lost too soon.
So some might know him as Michael, some might know him as LaFay. We sort of know him as Mickey Pie. We started to join the names together. Well, us girls decided that. But he's pretty special to us, as you might know. Just going back to first day when we first saw him, I was sitting there in about the third row, actually probably where we're sitting now, or were sitting. He gets up the front to start singing. Wayne's on one side, Kerry's on the other. And I just went, oh no. And they went, what? And I go, him and Taylor. My mummy heart just knew. And I was right. Yeah, it's amazing because he just, as Wayne said, he just came into our lives. And yeah, how would we have known that we would love this guy so much and for him to be so much a part of our family? There's so many stories. Obviously, you know, having him around for, I guess, the last 12 months officially, 12 to 18 months, we've had many stories, many fun times. He's just so much fun. Everyone that is here knows that. You know that because you've seen him, you've interacted with him, you've loved him, you've spoken to him, you've heard him sing. You know that. But there's just so many stories. One little one, he'd never seen snow before. We went to America and we were staying where it was snowing. He got so excited at the first snow he ran outside. No shoes on, barefoot. We couldn't put something with bare feet in the snow. But he just had so much fun and he went boarding and picked it up like that. Like he was just so amazing in every way. But I guess the bottom line is that you are all here because he has touched you in some way. How could he not? The amazing thing about him that we just loved was that whether he spoke to you once, whether he didn't speak to you at all and he just touched you from this stage or the numerous stages that he sang or performed on, he made everyone feel special. He connected with everybody. Doesn't matter how much you had to do with him, everyone felt like they knew him well because that's what he did. He had just a beautiful heart. And it's something that's, unique to a 20-year-old. Sometimes we'd have conversations and go, how old are you? Because he just was so deep and meaningful. And as you know, he just had that heart for God. And it was just awesome. We would have family worships when we were all together at the same time at night time and take it in turns for family worship. And he would always come up with something amazing and sing us a song. We always loved that. But just the words, and then for him to actually choose to do ministry, we were so excited for him because it was his passion, it was his heart. And the biggest thing is, you know, you guys must know what his heart was. And he wants all of you to love Jesus as much as he did. Because he wants to see you in heaven. The next thing he knows, he opened his eyes and he's in heaven with God. And hopefully all of us. So just remember that, that's really important. I also just want to thank our beautiful new King family down here. Just love you guys to bits. And thank you so much for allowing him to become part of our family. Because, he's just amazing. And, as a pseudo-mum, just missing him so much. To his real mum, Deborah, just love you to bits. And I'm just really feeling for you because you guys are amazing. And you have brought up the most godly, beautiful son. And we thank you for that. Also, just want to finish with our family has been impacting him in such an amazing way, and I know though we're going to miss him like crazy, but our family is better because of him. Our family is stronger because of him. Our family is even more spiritual because of him. From a 20-year-old making us oldies, young, but. Be more spiritual because of him. Like, who would know that when we first met him? So that's so awesome. And just wanted to say, love you long time, goodbye. Tosa, although this is not goodbye, it's just see you later. We'll see you in the morning, our precious son.
Just before my about Michael's heart a lot. And this was given to me when my father died. And it's a little statue with a little gold heart in the middle of it. And from one father to another, my heart goes out to you. And this heart represents to me Michael's love for everybody that's in this room. It also represents our love for Michael, your love for Michael. It also represents God's heart for the love for everybody in this room as well. I'm going to give this to you.
Clarify a few things. My Michael was not skinny. He was actually very buff, thank you very much. One of the best things... One of the best things that attracted me to him actually was I was sitting behind him and he had really nice back muscles and it was kind of... Anyway. I'm sorry. Yeah, but... he meant a lot to my family and I, and obviously by the turnout today, like a lot of you too. And I just want to say that he loved you all very much, and he thought you all were so special and were funny, and one of his goals in life was to make others feel special, and he only told me that a couple of times, but he didn't need to tell me any more than that because he lived it and he showed it through all the little things he'd do for people, the little things of how he'd always like look out for the underdog and always make sure everyone else was okay, like before himself. And yeah, I just thought that was pretty special. I thank God for him, for allowing me to be a part of his life, and for he was such a spiritual man, and he helped me so much on my personal journey with God, and we grew together a lot. So I just want to thanks for that. If it's okay with you guys, I'm just going to read you a letter that I wrote. The last letter. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to read it. Dear Love Biden, if you're reading this, then you're not here anymore. You're leaving today, and I really have no words to say. I'm going to miss you so, so much. But I'm thankful for you coming in and the time we've shared together. You're so special to me, and you make me laugh. So in other words, you make me extremely happy. This holiday has been the best, and I've loved sharing it with you and my family. Thank you for all my lovely gifts you got me, especially the promise ring. I love it. I honestly thank God for you. You are the best, and you take care of me so well. I miss you. I promise you I will never forget all the wonderful memories we made. Michael, I never want you to forget how amazing you truly are. The most amazing, talented, God-loving, and handsome man I've ever met. You shouldn't need me to make you feel special, because you are, and I want you to always remember that. I don't know what the future holds for us. I honestly don't. What God's plans for us, you and me, are, they're questions I think about every day. All I know is how good you are, how special you are to me, how you make me feel, and how much I love you. I love you, truly and really, with all that I have. You're honestly the man of my dreams, tall, dark, and handsome. But you become so much more than that. I love your sideways glances and smile, your old man laugh, your passion for God and music, the way you let me be right, your right and left jokes, your hair when it's all ruffled, when you wink at me, the way you wait for me, your patience with everything, especially when teaching me Samoan. The way you look at me, hold me, kiss me. Your biceps, pecs, back muscles. You say it, girl. You say it.
There you go, girl.
Look, there's a billion more things. Yeah, can't read that. Censoring this. Look, there's a million more things I could list about what I love about you. The lunch is ready and I'd rather spend time with you and loving you than writing about how much I love you instead. I still love you, love you long time, aka forever. Miss you, love Taylor. Okay, I lied. I'm not done yet. I just want to add that I love your heart. It's the best. The biggest, kindest, loudest, most courageous, youthful heart ever. I also love the way your eyes twinkle when you laugh. The way you want peace between everyone. The way you let me sleep on you even if you have a dead leg. The way you look in that funny I bought when you roll up your sleeves and your upper arms look like mint. Yum. And I love, 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 love that little beauty spot above your lip. Most of all, I love you. Yours truly, Ted. Next. Okay, I don't know how to start this. While I was in America, Michael used to sing these songs to go to sleep, like, just, love songs and stuff, and then we'd say goodnight prayers and stuff. But eventually, after a while, we ran out of love songs to sing. So, we decided to write one instead, yeah. So, we wrote this lullaby, and we loved it a lot because we were like, yes, it's so applicable to life, you know what I mean? Like, it's now, it's when I see you again, it's when you, grow up and have kids and put them to bed, and then, times like this. So, yeah, and he always was like begging me to sing songs with him, but I was like, nah, that's your thing, man, I don't like being on the stage. So, yeah, this song is for you.
Dreamland is calling, the sunshine is falling. I can't wait to see you again. The stars now are shining, the moonlight is flying, an angel is watching your bed. Now don't you worry, my dear, 'cause someone will always be near to you. I love you, my darling, just wait for the morning to open your eyes up again.
Hello everybody. I'm Mrs. Key. That's Mr. Key. And these are the little keys. The keys that Mr. Key and I made. I want to share a little story about Michael, maybe one. Depending on how I feel, I might even share two. If there's one thing about Michael, it's he really cares about families. And when our kids were younger, and Samoan family always had money problems, eh? And no, this is a different one. This is another story. Another story. A lot of them got money. But anyway, you start might say what don't want me to tell the real stuff. The one thing about Michael is that he always used to hear me say, we got no money. And so, you know, it was kind of like something that was in his mind all the time. And when he went to school, and the school will have, you know, give him notice for excursions, he doesn't bring the notice home to me because he thinks, Mum and Dad can't afford it. Anyway, one day, I got a call from one of his high school teachers, primary school teacher. She says, Michael says he can't go to the camp because you can't afford it. And my heart broke because at that time, funny enough, we did have a little bit of money, but it was because of how he felt that his mum and dad couldn't afford anything. He always thought of other people, and he always put his family. And I don't think I need to tell you anymore because you already know. Just thank you for listening to my silly stories. Me and my husband were now sing a song. Show me the money. Come on, honey. I'm going to say something that I shouldn't say. The guitar, not the light.
Can we get the guitar down, please? Thank you.
Have you knelt beside the rubble of an aching, broken heart? To the things you gave your life to fell apart. You're not the first to be acquainted with sorrow, grief, or pain. But the Master promised sunshine after rain. So my child, joy comes in the morning. Weeping only lasts for the night. Hold on, my child, joy comes in the morning. The darkest sounding storm is just inside. To invest your seed of trust in God in mountains you cannot move. You have risked your life on things you cannot prove.
Oh, yeah.
But to give the things you cannot keep for what you cannot lose. Now that's the way to find the joy God has for you. My child.
darkest hour means dawn is just inside. The darkest hour means dawn is just inside.
The opportunity for anyone from the Haven Campus Church to, if they want to express a few words. With Lafai, this is your time. It's my privilege on behalf of the Haven Campus Church leadership team and the broader Haven Campus Church family to offer my sympathies and condolences to you, the Key family, for being here today. As difficult it is, we just want you to know as an extension of our heart, whilst we don't know you, many of us, we feel connected because of your son, Lafai. The message that I want to share with you this morning, or this afternoon, sorry, is really to the heart of your son, of what we got to see. 2 weeks ago on this very stage, your son, dressed in fluoro women's sportswear, and as disturbing as that was for me to sit there and watch, and I questioned in my mind, where on earth are you going, son, with this skit? Yeah, I know, your church, not my church, your church. You're responsible. But he led us through a skit and his heart shone through. And what I loved and what I want to share with you is that when he got to the end of the skit, and I talked to the boys afterwards, and obviously most of it, they were winging it, it was just him on this stage, sitting right there on a seat. And he stopped and he separated the frivolity, and we were having fun, and he stopped us and he brought us to one point. And he said to us, what are you going to choose? Where are you going to put Christ in your life? What is the point of all this unless you make a choice? You see, your son, your brother, left fingerprints. Wherever he went, he left heaven's fingerprints. And in Revelation we read that there will be a time where there is no more mourning and sorrow and sadness. The old things will get done away with. And I pray for that time. Because I want you to understand that the fingerprints that your son left on this community, they live beyond this moment. He had a legacy moment 2 weeks ago where he spoke into the hearts of young and old. And I want you to understand this. The song might be finished, but the melody will never disappear. There will be people in heaven because of the fire. Praise God.
Things are don't get baptized in the ask him to baptize me. I just wanted to thank you for being a good role model in my life.
That was my son. So proud of you, man. Now the rest of you have no excuse because he's right.
One of the things that people don't know about our thing is we live beside the Pharisees. So the stories that they got to tell, we got to hear about very close at hand. And one of the things that Lafai used to do inadvertently for us is wake us up at about 4 o'clock every morning and he would stay at the Ferris's place, slamming the door on the way to go to work for Grant. But boy, what a joy it was to we're going to listen to that beautiful music. An experience very special. What a great guy.
I just wanted to say thank you for the man that you created. Not just as a person who worshipped with him, but as a mother. Your son has directly impacted my children's journey with God. And it's hard when you're standing there and you want to be that person to make sure your kids are there. And when you finally submit and you let it go. And your son, together with Danny, has just been momentous, not only in the lives of my children and their decision for Christ, but I know for a lot of other parents in this church. And so I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you so much for the blessings that just poured out of him without even trying and how that's blessed our lives. So thank you.
I was at Big Camp a couple of years ago, showering in one of the cubicles, and so doing my thing there, and I heard one of the other cubicles. I heard this angel singing, and immediately my production manager role kicked in, and I just wanted to finish my shower and get out there and auditioning to join Ivan Clay, and because he was like an amazing singer. I got out there and spoke to him, spoke to his cousins while he was there, and I was blown away by his spirit. Immediately, the heart of God hit me, and I thought, perfect, amazing singer, and the heart of God. Two qualities that really scream out to me. Been working with young people for the last 24 years. It's not easy to find amazing singers with the heart of God. And subsequently, he came to our house to audition, and we were so excited to the prospects of having him work and minister with Ivan Clay, and but for different reasons, of course, he couldn't make it, and that fell through. But in the short time that he was with us, he touched us all. Michael is the sort of guy that it doesn't take long. Here is the fruits of his labour, and that he touched each and every one of you, and that's why we're all here. So I just want to congratulate the family for allowing us all to have a little piece of Michael. But you know, for those of you that are looking for answers to all the questions that we have, and I'm sure that we're all been thinking the same thing over the last couple of days. Why? How such a talented young man of God is taken from us? But I do believe there are answers. And I think those answers, we all have them here deep in our hearts. That now and again, God uses someone like Michael. Because in Michael's timeline, Michael's auditioning for heaven right now. Michael's auditioning for the heavenly choirs right now, and I'm sure he made it in. Because God needed him there, and he's in his timeline. Michael is where we all want to be. But why? I believe because there is a message for all of us here. I've got my daughter and my son, my 16-year-old boy back there in tears, Chaz became very close to Michael as well. My daughter, who also thought Michael was quite handsome. But he's like the message, there's a legacy here for us, a message for young people. Because the devil is taking too many of these beautiful young people here the other way. And Michael made choices. He pointed to glory. He was going in the opposite direction, where a lot of young people are going these days, struggling with drugs, alcohol, with pornography, with all the evils of this world, suicide. And I work with young people. And so today it's a message that Michael, God has used Michael for each and every one of us. That there is another reality, the reality that Michael's living right now. And we hope that, I pray that all of us embrace that. Young people, Michael was not taken in vain. It's a message for each and every one of us. That this world is a passing time. It's only here for a short future. The eternity that we are looking forward to is the life that really counts. This is just a passing time. For all of us, those of us that are here, it's up to us now to look to Jesus, because that's what Michael did. Michael was a living, breathing, talking. You know, it's interesting that Michael is another name for Jesus. Another name for Jesus. May God bless your family, each and every one of us today. Thank you.
I'm just going to give that time back because I haven't seen that guy in my church.
I didn't know Michael for that long, but every single time I saw him, he was either on the stage singing, and every single time he kept singing, it touched my heart and it changed my life. He inspired me to get into the stage for some reason. And for the rest of you, I just hope that God can be there for you during this time, and I hope that He is in everyone's hearts and just through this tough time. Lafayette was a really inspirational man. I love Chloe. She had his love for everyone. She had God's love through him to everyone. I love you, Taylor. I hope that knows that everyone who's grieving. I miss you, love. Bye. Whenever I came to Haggis Church, I always saw him sing. It just was so inspirational. Just seeing him up here spreading God's word, showing everyone how much God really loves everyone. I miss him so much. Thank you, Lord. I'm not going to lie, I'm probably going to cry saying this, but I'm proud of you if I don't. The last weekend that I saw with God, he clarified to me in that way that he would tell me that he calls me his little sister. And he's happy forever. And I really miss him. And I wasn't sure about that before I met him, but now I know that I see him.
Everyone was important to him. We had kids' church down there every week, and Lafayette would come and he would be singing to little ones every week. My kids, he impacted my 5-year-old, 7-year-old, all the kids down there. No one was too important for him.
Michael as well. Before I met him, Danny said to me, I've met this amazing worship leader. He's the best I've ever seen, and he's just got this heart. He's amazing. He's so young. And I saw him and I'm going, he's no word of a lie. He's all heart. He's so awesome. And he's impacting my children as well. The same down in Jam, he's just the face that they remember. There's certain songs that will not be the same without him. Heaps of Lambs, yeah, there's quite a few. When I told my kids about what had happened last week, they took it a bit hard. But my daughter here, sometimes you look at children and you get that they seem to process things better than adults sometimes. You say, I'm really sad that we can't sing with him now. But we'll sing with him again in heaven. How cool is that? I'm going to miss him so much. Thank you for what you were to my family and to my kids.
I just want to share an overheard conversation, just quickly, just by the kids and Rob. He was trying to convince one of the girls to come join the worship team. He's like, come on, man. And I know he's a showman, what a showman. Hello, I'm thinking Michael Jackson. Whatever, but they were like, no, it's all good. They won't even see you. They'll just see Jesus. Is this? Oh my God. Legend.
Memories of our lifetime together are more precious than.
Sing it, Josh!
Sing it, Josh! Sing it, Josh! But your presence will be a memory forevermore. That's when I need you. That's how I know it is so hard facing life with the loss of someone you love. The feeling of the pain is unbearable. It hurts so deeply within your heart and soul. How can I face another day with the thought of knowing you're not around? In my heart is where your love will be found till my dying day. The family will never forget what a blessing you've been to us on this earth. The time has come to go on your journey, to live your life in a better world, in a place where the trials of life will worry you no more. And that's when I realize and try to let go. It is so hard facing life with the loss of someone you love. The feeling of the pain is unbearable. It hurts so deeply within your heart and soul. How can I face unbearable. It hurts so deeply within your heart and soul. How can I face another day with the thought of knowing you're not around? In my heart is where your love will be found till my dying day. In my heart is where your love will be found till my dying day. In my heart is where your love will be found till my dying day.
Good afternoon, family of Levi, and I mean everyone because to all of us he was a brother, he was a son. About 3,000 years ago, one of the great kings of history said, "There is a time for everything. There's a time to laugh and a time to cry." Today is for both of those. We cry when we think about who we have lost, and at the same time, we laugh when we remember why we're crying. One of the earliest memories for me of Levi was one day at church. One of the other young fellas had been mucking up, so as a punishment, Grant and I told him he had to do 40 push-ups. And Levi, in his normal character, he goes, 40 push-ups? That's easy! And Taylor, he wasn't always buff. He was skinny at one stage. And I said, "You couldn't do 40 push-ups." He says, 40? I could do 80. And so then, of course, he said that in front of all of the guys, so then he had to try. And even when it became painfully obvious that he actually wasn't even going to make half of it, he was still adamant that he could do it. I can't remember what we did, but he probably got a few bruises as a result. But that was just so him. He was cocky. He was irrepressible. He had this effervescent confidence. And he was infectious to all of those around him. I'd like to say thank you so much to the Key family for sharing with us such a precious gift. A time to laugh and a time to cry. Today, and over the ensuing days and weeks, comfort each other, encourage each other, cry together, but don't forget to laugh. Because Levi's legacy to us was this irrepressible and irreverent and unapologetic laughter, and we thank him for it. Be patient in your grief, because this is not the last time we will see Levi. He knew, and we know, that we will be together in eternity.
We're all blessed. It's just so incredibly blessed. It's like C4, the haven, his family, his friends, just to have him, whether it be 20 years or 2 years or a few months or a moment. Like, he's a beautiful man. The biggest, I guess, God personally impact I've had was within the first week of meeting Levi. It was a few years back when Grant first brought him up from Melbourne to come to one of our churches, Stormcoast. And and I met him, and immediately he like struck the two chords, like the two things that I love, and that was like, it was music and it was like word and poetry, and two things that came so effortlessly to him. Like, I first experienced it when we had to go around and do these affirmation circles at night, and like the ones we'd seen before would just be someone saying to someone like, oh yeah, good job, you took care of a kid, you did great at face painting, and you'd clap and you'd be like, yeah, sweet, like that was shallow, but cool. Then he came in there and I'd known him for like a day, and he'd look to someone and be like, man, the way you held that child today, I want to see my wife have the look of God in her eyes when she holds my child like that. That's beautiful. And we'll just be like, whoa. That was deep, man. And it just popped, it just came out, and every time he'd speak, it's just eloquence, this grace to it, these one-liners that were so profound and so deep, and I was just like, oh, I want to be like that. Oh, and then he started singing and playing, and it was beautiful, and we chucked him on a pedestal and were like, you're great, you're the best, and he was just so humble about that. He didn't want any of that, and I'd always push him. I'd always be like, hey, like I really want you to play this gig here, this gig there. Like you could be a star, you could be the best. And he didn't want that because he acknowledged it more than anyone else. It wasn't his voice, it wasn't his words he pushed out there, but it was God's. It was God's head that's playing the guitar, and it was God's voice out there. And that's how I remember it. Just, yeah.
Man, there's so much I can say. It's one of the thoughts that I talked to someone yesterday, and I feel like when you lose someone, like a lot of the time there's just like so much regret. Like you just wish that you could have said this to them or said that to them or gone here or gone there, and there's just really this really beautiful moment in like just all of this, and I just thought about the fact that I didn't feel like that. Like the man, we talked at least 2 to 3 times a week on the phone, just and you know when you call someone usually, it's for a purpose. Like I call him, it's not awkward, but he's like, what do you want, Like, but whether it be me calling him or him calling me, it was just like you just pick up the phone and just jump into a rhythm of whatever, just be like, oh man, like. I'm driving right now with headphones in, just to clarify. And it's just like, it would just be, you just jump into wherever we were, it'd just be life. And like, we'd talk about life, and I was thinking about it earlier, and like, he just spoke so much life into everyone. And like, man, I think we got on so well because I can be a bit cocky too sometimes. And so like, it was a give and take. Like, we have times where I just, like, pull your life together, like, come on. And then it was just like, when you needed it, like, he just spoke so much life, and like, I pretend like I don't need people sometimes, like I don't need people to like tell me that you can do better, you've got this kind of thing, but like, he saw through that bull, and like, he just, like, I just, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, we were on the phone, and I was just doing things in my room, because that's when we talk, just whenever. And, I just made some dumb decisions about different things, and I remember I got kind of cut because he was like, was that smart? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, why'd you do it? And I was like, shut up, like, you do stupid things too, like, shut up. And like, he was just like, no, like, you're better than that, like, you need to be better than that. And I was just like, okay, like, thanks. He was like, no, like, man, like, I love you. And I was like, oh, we don't get deep like this all the time. Like, I love you too. And he's like, no, like, you need to be better than that because you're better. And I was just like, oh, thanks. And I just, there were just so many times, and he made me laugh so much, and everyone laughed so much, and it does, there's so many broken hearts in here, and it kills me every time I think about the fact that I can't call him again, and it's not fair, and I'm mad about it, and yeah, but it's just this really beautiful thing that like when he finally wakes up and he finally he calls me back and he calls us all back, he'll be with Jesus, and we both of them, and that's such a beautiful thing. And so thank you. He was so proud of his family. Like, I remember when you guys came up for Rachel and Mark's wedding, and you walked into church, he just stood up and he walked over to you, he's like, this. And it was the best. And he just wanted to tell everybody about his family. And thank you so much.
Man, there's something about bright lights that makes you cry. Just 2 weeks ago, it was on a Sunday, we were having a practice, and it was for a variety hour gig for college. And we were practicing this one song, Tennessee Water. You guys know what the song is. And we're practicing this one bit. So I had a crack at it. Did my run. Like, yeah, I'm the man. And then he did his run. And like, in my head I was like, bruh, you want to do this to me? So I had another crack. I was like, yeah, got you. And then he had one more crack. And I was like, man, I don't want to sing for you anymore. But every time I've been around Lef, he's always had so much energy. He's like one of those Energizer bunnies you see on those commercials. So I want to get you guys to help me out. Would you guys be able to allow me to just jam it up just for a little bit? So if I could get you guys to stand up with me. Now when I say Michael, y'all say Key, Michael. Key. Michael. Key. Now when I say Michael, y'all say Key, Michael. Key. Michael. Key. Now when I say Laffy, y'all say Taffy, Laffy. Taffy. Laffy. Taffy. Now when I sing, ooh, I want y'all to sing, ooh. You ready? Try that one more time. Ooh. You know what? If Laffy heard us, man. If he had a crack at that, he'd bomb all of us out. Y'all can see it. But bro, this one's for you, my man. This ain't the end. Until we jam again, it's just aloha for now, brother. Before, and there was nothing like this. I don't recall the time I've missed you more than now, Not an hour ago I needed you so
Don't you ever think that I won't ever think of you. And don't you dare to dream that I won't dare to dream of you. After all, it's just aloha. For now. Hello again to ordinary life. Hello to Mondays. Hello responsibilities. Goodbye to every single thing I tried to. Not a day ago I didn't you very well. Well, it ain't fair at all. Aloha for now. Don't you ever think that I won't ever think of you. Don't you dare to dream that I won't dare to dream of you. After all, it's just aloha. For now. See, I won't make promises to you. I won't say everything is true, or that all our plans will go the way we hope they do. So don't bring your promises to me. Don't tell me things weren't meant to be. 'Cause I tried my best to see that goodbyes mean nothing more than aloha for now. Don't you ever think that I won't ever think of you. Don't you dare to dream that I won't dare to dream of you. After all, it's just aloha. Oh, aloha for now. Don't you ever think that I won't ever think of you. Don't you dare to dream that I won't dare to dream of you. After all, it's just aloha. For now. My dear brother, it's just aloha for now.
One 492-344. That is Michael's student number at Avondale College. But he was obviously much more than just a number. His academic journey had only just begun at Avondale. He was training to be a pastor, but he was already contributing to the life of the church that he loved. particularly through his musical gifts and his personality. And all of us grieve his loss. Michael's death is a heavy blow to the Avondale family, to both students and staff. And today, the Avondale family is reaching out to support and provide sympathy to you, his family, his immediate family and friends. To Charles and Deborah, our thoughts are with you at this time. You're being asked to bear a burden that is too heavy for you. But we're committing ourselves as the Avondale family to stand beside you, to support you. To Michael's siblings, Florence, Tatiana, Faith, Josh and Emma, you are saying goodbye to a greatly loved brother. So although Michael is irreplaceable, the college family is committing itself to be your brothers and sisters. Michael, it's very obvious, had a huge hope and trust in Jesus Christ. And we're grateful for that. And all of us together, particularly at Avondale, we long for the blessed hope when we'll be with Jesus himself and meet Michael again. In the meantime, Avondale is obviously a poorer place because of Michael's death. May God be with all of us.
Mr. and Mrs. Key, to the family. My name is Kyle. I'm one of Michael's lecturers. He was taking this semester Introduction to Theology, and he was taking Gospels A. And I had the privilege of having him in both of those classes. I got back to class. I wasn't too well last week, but I got back to class this Monday, and the place where he was normally sat was empty. I'm going to be, I don't know why Nimrod's done this to me, but he's asked me to speak at the 18 plus tent for our conference camp meeting. I don't know why he's done that. And Michael came to me and said he's going to be leading out in worship. And I was so excited to meet him, so excited to know that him and I would be working together in the tent. And so he said, can we get together? I said, sure. I said, come, how about 3:30? Monday last week. 3:30, sure enough, he was at the door, came into my office, and he sat down, and we had a great chat. And I could see his heart for God. And I shared with him some of the ideas I had, and he was taking notes. And I spoke about what he wanted to do in leading worship, and he shared how he wanted to lead us into God's presence. I was a little down, so I said, let's pray. And I said, would you pray, please? He was surprised. So we bowed our heads, and I wanted to hear faith articulated. Just in a long day, and I just wanted to hear faith in someone's heart. So we bowed our heads, and Michael prayed. He prayed a beautiful prayer, and he prayed for me. And I was so blessed by the little time that I spent with him. And later, my son Kieran put up the same song that we just heard. You know, "It Is Well With My Soul." And I thought, oh my, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do? Because he was going to be leading us in worship. And for the first time, I heard his voice. And what a gift. We thank God for Jesus and the hope that He gives us. And I pray that that hope would burn brightly in both of your hearts, in the lives of the family, that hope would burn brightly. And we do long for that day when Jesus will come. I long for that day like you, like all of us. And we get to see Michael again. God bless you, God's strength and God's peace and God's love to you. Our condolences from all of our lecturing staff, particularly in the Aberdeen Seminary, the theology department. From all of them, we pass our love, our prayers, and our support to them today.
I wasn't sure if I was in the Havers Campus Church category or the Avondale category, and there was both, and there was a lot of people in the first category, so I thought I'd wait. But I just want to say that I came back to Havers Campus Church a while ago after moving to Avondale, and I used to worship lead with Mel and Danny and a whole bunch of the guys here often, and I just remember there was just an aching, and I was like, I just need to go back. I just need to be my Haven family. And this was a while ago, and I came back and I just see this guy leading worship, and he was just proclaiming Jesus on his platform, just worshiping, and I was like, this is it. And I just saw someone lead worship like I've never seen before, and it was just so awesome to think I've gone and I miss my Haven family, and then just to see this young person just lead worship. My heart was just so blessed by it. And so as a worship leader and as someone who's been part of these teams, I just know that it was a privilege, and I just really look forward to the day where we can all worship, and the next time we worship with Michael, we'll be with Jesus. I just really look forward to that.
Hey, man, Lafayette was the man, eh? Yeah. There's just so many good times with him. I just remember this one time we were just all hanging out and some music was playing. And him, Damien, and Arnold got up and started dancing. It was like, what do you call it, Destiny's Child? And this guy was Beyonce, you know, and all that. Just the voice, man. Just so many good times with this guy. He was always happy, and man, it's a big loss. And to the family, much love to you guys. And also, come to these and
Mr. and Mrs. Key, when the first year students come next semester to my chaplaincy class, and when I look at my role, if I put Key on the honor, I never knew him. Never will know him. Yet, because of tonight, I know so much about him. And I have to say, Mrs. Keeg is anything like you. You would have given me hell. There are quite a few of my students in this hall tonight, and they know I could have taken it and I could have given it back just as well. We are poorer in this class. We can't afford to miss talent like that. And we have a few students, so I'm going to take this opportunity to say to them, here is a role model. If you believe half the man he was. Praise God for that. Bless you.
and I started working with him. And it's crazy to think that I've only known him for like maybe 2 months, and you know, I felt like he's made, you know, just he's made such a big impact in my life. Just, you know, seeing him at work, always dancing and singing, just made it a brighter place. I mean, it already is a bright place where we work, but it's just awesome to see him just every day, and you know, it's definitely something that I'm going to miss. And you know, just you know, traveling back and forth from work, just, you know, having those talks with him, and just, you know, sharing, like, it just got deep so quickly. He always just, you know, it was just awesome to have someone like that. And yeah, it's going to be different without him, but you know, I'm really excited because, you know, this isn't the end. Like, we'll see him again, so that's something to look forward to, and it's just going to make that day even better when we see him. So yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Lafai's auntie from New Zealand, Grant, Charlie and Josie's mum. When Charlie rang about Lafai, my brothers and my sister's kids, we shared each other's kids. Their kids are mine, mine are theirs. When they grow them, I just sit there and support them. When I grow their kids, we're all the same. When Charlie rang and I heard Josie screaming in the sitting room, and they just mentioned Lafai's name, I didn't know what was happening, if he was gone, or all I do is scream. Like I just heard Lafai's name and I just happened to scream. Because obviously there's something happening. And this is my brother's son. As you all know, we had a key last night, and we're all Samoan brown people. But, Lafai's great-great-grandfather he's a Scottish man from Scotland and living in Germany. Lafai, when I left from, as Lafai was growing up, he's always attached to Grant. He's always attached to Grant. He's either sitting on Grant's head, on his back, scratching his face sometimes. He cries because Grant make him fall on the ground. He'll never go away from him. So when I heard that news, Lafai has passed away, I was thinking of Lafai, my brother, and my boys, because they are here with Lafai, and that's why Lafai came here. We sort of blaming ourselves. And I was thinking of my boys. When Lafai was like 3 years old, I told this story to one of my partners back home. Just 2 weeks before Lafai, just one. It's a partner, so you don't know if it's a woman or a man. Anyways, just break the ice. And Lafai, and we went visiting one of the old people's home, and Grant walked to the other side of the road, and Lafai ran at the back of Grant, and there was a car coming, and we were all screaming at him, and then I happened to run because Lafai was this small, and the car was up here, and in my mind, that Lafai is too small, the driver couldn't see him, so I ran after him. So when he died in a car crash, I don't know, I just burst into tears and I just cried all night. And now where he died, he's still with Grant. And his last moments with Grant when we saw that photo at the gym, he is still with him. And I broke down really hard because I felt for my brother too. And I started ringing my family in Melbourne from New Zealand, and I rang my sisters and my nephews and my nieces. I said, please, because my brother was at work, and I didn't want to tell him the story while he's at work. If he was at home, okay, yeah, you know, but he's at work. He could break down, and you know, God knows what's happening because he's a bus driver too. And Lafai is such an inspirational. When I came to Grant's wedding, he has grown up so much. And every time we talk on Skype, and I don't see Lafai on the laptop, I said to my boys, "Where's Lafai? Why is he hiding?" And then the boys started, "Lafai, you're in trouble." And he is. When we came to Grant's wedding, I came back and I always talk about him. I don't know why I talk about him all the time. That he's outstanding in the performances at at Grant's and how he was hating on Grant for not being in the line. And he has left us with many memories and very, very good ones. And impact on everyone's lives and our children as well. He loves singing, and I know he's watching from up above and he's probably saying, "Why are you crying? Why are you sad? I'm in the best place, and I'm singing here. I'm continuing singing for the Lord." And Lafai, you are singing, in my ear every day. Baby, and we love and we miss you so much. To my brother and his good wife and children. Florence is the oldest. Tatiana, Lafai, Faith, Josh, and your nephew and niece. Emma is the youngest. Your nephew and niece, Jericho and Tewila. He has left you with so many good memories. And to my brother, hanging there, brother, you've lost one, but you've got 7 there. So you better stop crying. To all of us here, I know Lafai's gone, but he has left me personally with a message to saying that go to church. Yeah, I think that's the only message. I know he's living with me, and I'm not sure he's living with everyone else. I mean, some of us, yeah. It's not an easy road. We are traveling to heaven, for many are the thorns on the way. It's not an easy road, but the Savior is with us. His presence gives us joy every day. No, it's not an easy road. No, it's not an easy road, but Jesus walks beside me and brightens the journey and lightens every heavy load.
ngofie le alai le langi awa eteleva tui tui ele fai ngofie le ala o keriso efa atasima itato.
I've been put on the spot. Just going to say something on behalf of me and my siblings. Yeah, Lafay, he grew up with us as well. We were always together growing up, so he's our little brother too. We just spoke last week on Facebook about singing again together, because when we sang together at my brother's wedding, Lafay was really, really happy, and he messaged me and said, we need to do it again. He's always wanted to sing with me. I told him I retired, I don't sing anymore. But I'm very blessed and I'm very privileged to have the chance to sing with him one last time before. It's not very easy for all of us, especially for me today, but I can see how much Lafay was loved and how much he loves everyone, and he's made an impact on everyone's life, regardless if he knew you for 5 minutes or a lifetime. And as my mum said, yes, I think I can hear him whispering to me to go back to church as well. And I think he's also whispering me to use my voice for the Lord again. But yeah, we love you, Lafay, and it won't be the same coming to Krimbong all the time now. I remember every time I come here, the boys say he's never home. But as soon as I call or text him and tell him I'm here, he comes straight away. So yeah, I love you, Lafay, always and forever.
It's a bit high. Wow. I haven't actually gotten emotional about it till now. And so if I cry, I apologize. Lafay, 2014 Stormco. I remember Grant coming and going, "This is my little cousin, the skinny guy." I looked at him, he wasn't that skinny. He wasn't skinny. And Grant said he's a really good singer. I thought, oh, he must be pretty good. I remember the first time I heard him sing, I'm sitting there looking going, is there some sort of like speaker and there's Michael Jackson singing or something? Like what? This, oh my goodness, like, wow. I heard him sing a Michael Jackson song and huge fan, and he was the only guy that when he sang Michael Jackson, I thought, I think he does it better. We loved him so much. And there's a group of boys that are sitting all the way down the back, that played basketball with him last year, and they were there at the Stormco trip, and we love him. We will always love him, and we've had a chat, and we split our teams because of the amount of players we had. But we decided that after this, there's no way we can split. Lafay wouldn't want that. We were all family. So we're going to play the season together as one unit for Lafay. And we're all going to wear black bands just like this, so that no matter where we are, we always look down our wrists and know, hey, Lafai, we're doing this for you, because he was all about the team. He was like the most encouraging guy. I always be getting on the guys going, guys, rebound, make your shots. And Lafai is sitting there just going, it's okay, man, it's all good, we're having fun. And he was always smiling and making jokes, and he was just such a contrast to myself on the basketball court, and we wouldn't have made it through the season without Lafai. We love him, and we'll never forget him.
I had the privilege of knowing Fi in many different aspects. First was Stormco, then evidently moved up here and came to my church and started working at good old Spotless with me and everyone else. And one thing about Lafai was, no matter whether you see him at work, at church, Stormco, outside of any of that, he was the same. He was genuine, honest. You can never forget someone like that. I always remember the first Stormco he came to. We had group showers we'd split into, and he'd be one of the ones to say, group hugs in the showers, boys. I love you also.
Quiet. This is my turn. No, seriously, I was actually sitting there like, which group am I going to go in? And then as the night's about to end, I'm like, I need to jump in something. So I just jumped in my church. But I just want to keep it short. I've lived with Lafai for the last 2.5 years. It's not going to be easy. Me and Charlie were just talking about it the other day, and even Uncle says it all the time. We're not going to hear him singing in the shower for 2 hours while we're just waiting to shower. No, I'm not going to have someone who brings in the washing every month. There's just a lot of little things I got to miss about Lafai, but I remember when Faye first moved up in 2014, I think it was, and I just asked him about his music stuff, and he told me, he goes, I wanna sing to like sold out stadiums and that. Like he wants to sing in front of massive audiences. It's just sad that he drew a massive audience, but he didn't get to witness it. Love you, so.
I met Lafai Stormco 2014, and the biggest memory I have was that I didn't know his name for like most of the week. And we were sitting and doing our affirmation circle, and I was thanking a group of people, and I named them all, and then I got to Lafai, and I didn't know his name. Like, I heard Michael, and I heard Lafai, and I didn't know which one it was. And so I just pointed and went, and you? And then the person next to me then mentioned his name, and I don't have a very good filter, which is going to make my line of work interesting. And
they said his name and I was like, oh, that's who it is, out loud. And then for the rest of Stormco, I just remember him reminding me of what his name was and speaking in third person, and I was like, but I had the absolute privilege of being in a class with him as well. And he always had his unofficial assigned seat that every theology student has. And I'm just going to miss looking up the front and not seeing him back. I'm going to miss somebody.
I wasn't going to speak, I was just here to support Shannon and Mike. So I'll just share like an example that I gave to me. It was actually my 21st birthday party last Saturday. And yeah, just an example. He just had the ability to bring the best out of anything, and he totally just lifted the mood. And from then on, like, I knew everyone was having a great night, and you could always rely on him. Other people said they were coming, but they didn't to sing, and he was there. And I'll never forget that. And I feel so privileged to have him there. It's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. I'll miss you.
It has been an absolute privilege to have grown with Lafai at C4 Youth. His influence from the first day that he came was undeniable. Such a happy, bubbly, laughing individual. Inappropriate a lot of the time, but he was wonderful and he made everyone laugh. We had him sing up at C4, his music, everyone loved it, even the oldies. And it was just beautiful. We felt God, we felt the love flowing through his music. To have him with our youth and our socialists, to grow with our youth and for our youth to grow with him as well. It was wonderful, his influence. So God-centered. He was a selfless, humble man. But he looked at the best in life. He looked at the best in people. He never had an ill word to speak. So gentle and so funny. And it has been an absolute joy to have grown up with him for the last couple of years. Spiritually, for our youth to have experienced him as well. For Stormco's, for everything that we've done, and to have had his presence in our lives. His touch will never be forgotten. And although it's a sad time, the one thing that we can learn from him is his passion. And passion is such a beautiful thing in life that we should never forget. And he taught that to us. To be passionate for God, to be passionate for life, and to encourage and uplift each other. And we are so grateful to have had that at C4 with him, with our youth. And we thank you for the gift of your son.
I wasn't going to come up and speak. I'm pretty short with words normally for most people. So for me to get up here, it's big. But Lafai had a massive influence on my life. And although I didn't really speak to him a lot when he went to C4, I got to know him a bit better when I started working with Spotless Crimes and Boys. And seeing him every day, seeing him always happy, even when he was grumpy with Arnold for doing something too annoying, or getting a video of him tripping over or something like that, he was still happy. Like, he always would find a way to smile, or start to laugh, or start to entertain people. You know, work's never going to be the same without him. Like, you'd be up there on the line sorting through some really dirty laundry, like really dirty laundry, and he's down there dancing, and that place is so hard to be really positive in all the time. But it is. It's not because of Grant, but I'm going on the bad shift tomorrow. But he always found a way to be happy. also sharing it with the Seek Church. So thank you.
Yeah, unlike Tim, I'm not sorry if I cry. Yeah, one of my earliest memories of Lafai was, Stormco 2014. He would sing for us at night, and I'd sit there wondering how the hell he got his voice so damn high. He was always such a positive guy. He was quick for laughing, quick for smiles. He had a really quick wit, kept everybody on their toes. He was also positive, and he impacted so many people throughout his life with his music, with his dancing. He was just a positive person to be around, and it just made everybody feel better. He's left a little bit of himself in each and every one of you. Everybody that he's met, he has impacted positively. Yeah, we're never going to forget you, Pat.
I just wanted to add to what Timmy was saying before with the basketball team. Lafayette didn't always make everyone, like every single game that we had. I'm sure there's a good reason. He was probably with Taylor or something, enjoying himself. But the few games that he did make it to and play, I remember one, it was his 19th birthday last year, and we were losing, like, it was, you don't want to go there, like, it was a disgusting score. But I just remember, like, the whole time, throughout the whole game, he just remained positive, and he just kept pushing us to do our best, no matter what the outcome was. And he just, whenever he played, he just brought a different ball game to the court with him. And it's something I think all us boys will strive to do this year and this season. As you know, Lafayette made an impact on all of our lives. But I just wanted to add, not everyone could make it here tonight. My sister Erin and a good friend of Lafayette's, Claire, are over in the UK at the moment, and they sent me a message asking me if I could share it. So I just wanted to read this out to you. Lafayette was a beautiful person inside and out. He's one of those people that's so infectious to everyone around him. He could change the hearts of many. He was beautifully talented and incredible soul, but more than anything, he was loved by everyone he knew, and we will never be forgotten through his heartbreak. We miss you and we love you, Lafayette. I just wanted to say thank you, Lafayette, for all the great memories you gave us and the good times.
Okay, so I haven't known Lafayette that long, and I'm one of those people who you guys have said, like, you can meet him for 5 minutes, you can meet him for 5 years, you can meet him for 20 years, and he still leaves such a big impact. My mum came to church once when he sang, and she wanted to come back the next time that he was rostered on, and she was like, oh my gosh, who is that guy? And when I told her that he passed away, she didn't even know his name, and I told her, Lafayette, Michael Keith, the one who can sing, and she knew exactly who I was talking about, and he was so God-centered, and he's just such an inspiration, and I always thought you had to have such an epic voice, and you had to go on something like X Factor or The Voice or American Idol or something to draw crowds, but like, look at all the people here today that he's touched with his voice and his talent, and I think that you guys letting him come up from Melbourne and come over from Samoa and New Zealand, everywhere that he's been, he's left fingerprints, like Spin said earlier, and it's just impacted so many lives, and I'm just thankful to your family for sharing him with us all. Thank you.
All right. Hello. For the boys at Spotless, it's your time. 2 minutes. Let's go. Come on. Big hearts. Let's go. I'll go and give you a day off tomorrow. Let's go. Come on.
I probably need the 10 minutes. I had to write these notes down first. Okay, first of all, my name is Arnold Greenfield, and if you don't know, I'm Lafayette's boyfriend, apparently. I'm the boy in the relationship. The first time I met Lafayette was Charlie mentioned some amazing cousin that he had that could sing, and I was like, whatever, I'll have to sing this and hear this. So we went home that day, and I could hear someone vacuuming in the house. And I was like, oh, this guy's really good chills. So I walked up and we were singing and just looked at him and just, we just both smiled and just introduced ourselves and gave a big hug. And later on, I saw Grant. Grant used to really, because me and Lafayette were small, Grant used to pick on Lafayette and really showed him who was boss. So I remember this one time Grant had him pinned down to the bed and I couldn't do anything. I was like, sorry, was you on your own? Grant had his nipples. It was like, but like, when I saw him down, I was like, man, I need to stick up for this guy. Because we're going to be getting bullied by these big freaking gorillas. So from then, I was like, so I got your back. So from then, we were like, okay, so like, to get big, we're going to go to the gym. But he was already training with someone. I think it was Campbell or Jordan or someone, or Grant. And I was like, why are you going to train with Campbell somewhere? We can't figure it out. I'll train you. So I told him, I was like, sorry, we'll go to the gym. But it was always laughs with that guy. Me and him, it was just, we'll go to the gym and like, I'll be, either I'm on the bench press or he's on the bench press. And he'll be there and I'll be like, come on, you can lift it. We're both just laughing, trying to watch it. The whole time we're just, we're going to break out, but we're not agreeing. Just be laughing the whole time. And sorry guys. I'll keep this possible. Sorry, I'll just go to I'll just keep short. There's some stories, the funny ones. Okay. Everyone wants to know how we keep fighting and but I guess with Lafayette, it's hard with this. Like we both had like a sensitive side, and it shows what this is. And it made me put up with yours, to share that sensitive side with each other. And I kept telling them, Floyd, when am I going to meet your family? Exactly. I'm just so happy I got to meet you now, and I see life like for you. And my heart could actually be still there. But yeah, I'm going to miss you. God bless. Oh, sorry. Oh, thing. Still got 5 minutes. Just wanted to, before he started college, he told me that he was doing teaching. He told me he was doing his test with Nimrod, and like he was telling me they were like took a 3-hour test. He took like 6 hours. Something like this was so funny. But anyways, he told me that he changed to theology, and like I was just so happy for him. I was thinking, oh man, I can at least go to this guy now. Me and him can share something with God, whatever. I went over to his house, and a week after he started studying, and he told me he wanted to do Bible studies with me. And for him, I still want to continue those Bible studies, but I felt also fast. But yes, love him heaps, and I miss him, and he's got me too.
I'm Wally. I'm namesake of Lafai. Of Lafai's dad. It's an honor to be up here just to share a little bit about Lafai. I don't know. I'm like a devil, you know. Like I always go the other way with him. Hey, come out with me, something. Just come out, you know. And Lafai just always has a way of just saying, nah, all good. Nah, I'm alright. So he always turns me down. So I give it up to him, man. Like he's just that person that's made a big impact in my life, and then, I don't know. I think he's changing me for the best. But just being around my cousin, you know, it's like, it's a feeling, it's indescribable. Like every morning I come to work, I'm always looking for my two big cousins and my good mate Arnold and just everyone, all the boys. And then I always think to my head, oh, where's Lafai? He's always having a day off for some reason. We let him off all the time, so no, we love him. Oh, and with the arguing with these two, Arnold, they argue with each other because they're smaller, you know, so it's like, oh, we'll pick on each other, you know, because they couldn't pick on anyone else. And, I was always in the middle breaking them up, so love you, Lafai. All right.
Yeah, well, I'm not good with this kind of stuff, so. Only financial voice, so. Unlike Wally here, I always won with the bad influence side, because I baited him to come out of my house. And even if it was just a sing or just dance or be with him and stuff like that, apart from the fridge full of alcohol. Sorry guys. As you can see in this photo, he's always been a pretty kind of guy, pretty boy. And one day he came over, it was for Halloween, and he was like, oh, can you make me toothpaste? Yes, this is my chance to make me look better than him. You know, make me look like a pretty boy and try and mess him up as much as I can. But yeah, it was good. And when I remember us always going out dancing, we always used to have these little dance battles and stuff. We used to do this Michael Jackson and splits and stuff like that. But the only thing I could ever get him with was just one back foot. Got one up on you still, bro. Got one up on you. And I know that in Josh, that Lafai's going to live through you and always going to have that Michael Jackson, even the little spins and woo! But I miss him a lot, and I'll always be here for anyone, you guys and all the boys. We love you, Lafai.
Gee, you want to start the time again? Just want to share a recent, my most recent encounter with Lafai was at the gym, surprisingly. Hazy and I were doing our regular workout, and Lafai decides to show up at the college, and he came in and spoke to us and was talking to us while we were doing the workout, dressed in a singlet and thongs in the gym. Here we are in joggers, exercise gear, trying to look good, and he rocks up in a singlet and thongs and still looks better. Decides to do a workout with heavy weights in thongs, and we wondered why he was doing a workout for 2 minutes when we were there for an hour. Turns out that he was getting his pump on for the pool party for the college. Love yous.
You know, when I
first met Lafai, it was at Stormcoat, just like many of the people here, and straight away, we were like brothers. I was like, hey, bro, how you going? I'm Jordan. So, hi, Lafai. Straight up like that, we kicked it straight away. Over the years, Mum was saying the other day, it was like a sixth child to my parents, and he was like a brother to me, and he was a massive inspiration to me. He pushed through the tough times, and the biggest inspiration to me was when he called me up and he said to me, I'm going to go to college. And I was so proud of him. He's always pushed me to my limits, life as well as the gym. And I couldn't be more proud of him. And so I want to thank you, Lafai, for doing what you did to me. I love you.
Hello everyone, my name is Chaz, and this is my good friend Alex. We are known as Lafai security guards. Pretty much, we were the guys that Lafai would call if he had trouble with someone. And we'd take care of it for him because he was too kind on people. We both loved him to bits. We always looked after him whenever he needed us. We jumped straight away as soon as we heard about what happened. And I just can't explain how much I love him. I miss him. And I just don't have much words to say, except for I'll see you again, cuz, on the other side.
I'm nice security guy. He does all the bad stuff. I hug people. Lafai told me to always hug. When Lafai first came out from Melbourne, Charlie brought him over. Charlie was like, oh, my little brother's moving up. My little brother is your little brother. And I was like, oh, okay, bring him over, go hang out, have coffee. Honestly, I'm going to when majority of us boys always get together, drinking coffee, we just we sing, harmonise. First night Lafai came over, my missus was in the kitchen. Lafai started singing by himself, and we all started singing. When we finished drinking our coffee that night, my missus said to me that she didn't want to hear any of us boys sing again, and just leave it to Lafai. I love you, Mom, so I'll see you again.
Big crowd. Jordan met Lafai, everyone's this big ogre here. Talking about being the little ones that work. He came along, I said, oh yeah, sweet. I don't get pushed in the trolleys, pick me up and thrown down. I said, oh yeah, sweet. So I go up to him nearly every day at work. Happy, later in the time up. I said, oh yeah, sweet, go along, go Charlie. Gets angry, chase me. I just like, yeah, smaller than me. Oh, got a little, it's tall, but still one of the small ones there. It's going to be hard, going to miss him. It's a big crowd, I can't speak much, but love you all.
I'm from Melbourne as well. I haven't met you guys yet, but I'm not sure, so I'm related to you guys.
turns around and goes, "That's your cousin." I was like, "Oh, bigger than me." But all jokes aside, I love life. There's a lot of memories that I've had. I had one where his car broke down. We called Campbell. Campbell came and fixed it and all that. And then he goes, "Oh, I'm so hungry." I was like, "Alright, sweet, let's go get a feed." So we went down to Naji's, all the boys there. And he goes, "Oh, I forgot my wallet." I was like, "Solid. Wallet." But then, child knows we all do. And yeah. Miss you all. Hi everyone. My name is Pimpin. This is my younger brother, Stanley. Lafai. I guess you don't know Lafai until you're actually sleeping in the same room as Lafai. You know, Lafai, every time after work, we have dinner, and after his 2 hours singing in the shower, he'll come to bed. And then he'll tell me, "Goose, I'm so tired." "Well, go to sleep." So he'll, "Oh, can you just turn up the light?" I'll turn up the light. Probably like 2 minutes, you hear this rapids going. I turn on the light. I turn around. "Hey, what are you doing?" You see Lafai eating his lollies. If you don't know Lafai, he's got a sweet tooth. And he loves his lollies. Another thing about Lafai, every time I wanted to do church videos, he was the first guy to put his hands up. And I love that about him. He was my superstar in my videos. Just recently called him up. So we had a week of prayer. I told him to come see me. He said, "Yeah, Charles, I'll be there." And then after that, he got angry. I was going, "What's wrong?" He goes, "I'm not happy." He's like, "Why?" He goes, "I see you shooting videos of white people." And he said, "I thought I was your main actor. I'm sorry. You know, if you come to Dubbo, I'll shoot another video. I love you also." Hey everyone, my name is Stanford. I'll keep it short and sweet because I'll probably start crying. And I'm not gonna ugly cry, so don't see. Anyway, I've known Lafai since he was little. The memory that always comes to my mind is when I was little, and I used to carry him around, and I used to try and take him off the girls, thinking he was my little brother, because I'm the youngest, so I get bullied. But yeah, that's the memory that always comes to my mind. There are so many memories of him. I just listen too much, and miss his smile, miss his singing, I just miss the banter that we've all had with fight. Yeah, sorry, I like fight.
Gotta say this stuff, but I'll try my best. I know Lafai sings because I'm from Melbourne too. And I moved up here and I saw him again. He really changed a lot. And meeting crowd too, like, I heard the crowd was scary, but when I'm meeting, I get to know him. It's actually really soft. And the last day of work, on Tuesday, and then I'd hop in the car, and then he'd say, oh crap, I remember something. Let's go G with crap. And he told me to catch a ride with someone else. And then I was angry because I was willing to go home with him, but like, he said I want to go gym, so he would shimmy for me. So I shook my head and I went. And on the same day, I was playing basketball. One of the boys came to me and he told me, oh, and he was crying. I'm like, are you all right? I thought, well, he was on drugs or something. He said something about, oh, my father passed away. And I was so shocked. I'm like, are you kidding me? Don't lie to me. He's like, no, I'm not. The boys are waiting for us. And on my way there, I was thinking, even this last day, he saved my life. I don't know what would happen if I get surrounded. But thanks a lot, bro. Thanks for everything you've done for us. Working up and saving value because you're funny personalities and everything. Very easy, bro.
Alright, I'll be quick. 10 minutes up. For those that know me, I'm Grant. I was the one that was sent to protect my little cousin. Though his arms weren't that big as ours, his heart was just as bigger. And even till today, I just want to just go Hulk mode and just, I don't know, just that day when I got called, when I was at footy training, I just saw him. We were at the gym together from 2 to 3. He said to me, Oos, I've got to go to class at Oakwood's, travel safe. And I was the last guy to see him. Even till this day, I'm thinking that he's at some summer camp. He's going to come home and give us all the stories about him, you know, how he made all the push-ups. I don't know, I brought him up here because here is a community that I found rewarding, and I wanted him to receive all the blessings that I had. And by bringing my mum and dad letting me have him, you know, I surrounded him with all these hooligans. And I surrounded him with all you guys. And I was so blessed that everyone that's here, everyone that's gone, because they had to do other duties, and he's blessed their lives. Like, I'm gonna miss him because he was the first guy I would call if I needed him to sing a song. It's all about delegating. That guy wouldn't say no to me for some reason. But I brought him to Spotless, and it's the ugliest job, you know, dealing with dirty laundry, you know, but look at the community we built that surrounded ourselves around our fight. In the most crappiest environment, he gave us joy. He sang all his Marvin Gaye and Barry White's. You know, I'm surprised he ran out of love songs. You know, just, my heart dropped when I heard that it was him. We had a fight with the police. Because we wanted to rip him out of the door, get him out of the car. Like, it was very very hard. And to lose my little whistle. I swore I'd protect him. I swore I'd look after him. But the thing I can rest assured on is I was there to strengthen his hope in Christ. The journey wasn't that easy, but whatever decisions he made, I had his back, whether it was right or wrong, I had his back. So to put his spotless box. I didn't want to say anything tonight because I didn't want to cry. Because if like, I was looking at me now, he'd call me a sook because I would call him a sook. But see, it's happened. Haven Church has done a great job. And with the food, everyone that's participated in making this whole evening work. See what Michael Jackson had up there, like, I don't know. I look at these guys and I'm trying to find a new Michael Jackson, but he was a special kind of kid, and I'm so blessed that you guys have all had the privilege to see them. Again, everyone has impacted his life wrong ways more than right, but it's an impact that he will cherish forever, that he will all cherish. I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him. I love my also.
Coming from an islander background, we can get pretty noisy when someone's preaching. But he was always scared at the Haven Campus Church to be too loud. So he would sit at the front and do these ones. He didn't want to be too, yes! Oh, amen. I must admit, I was scared too coming to a new church in the Haven. And so I kept my voice down too, but every time he was worship leading and I was preaching, we would always embrace, and I would tell him to lead strong, and he would tell me to preach it up. Probably the most hardest sermon. But with the Lord, I'm going to bring it. You know, I keep reminding my church here at the Haven that if you go to the Bible to get all your answers, it's not going to work for you. Because the purpose of the Bible is not to provide all your answers, but it's to enable you to discover an anchor in Jesus Christ. Because some things in life are we just can't understand. This being one of them. But having an anchor, when life puts you in quicksand and no matter how hard you try to move forward, you continue to sink, to have an anchor keeps you up. And that's the purpose of the Bible. I also want to say to you up front that the enemy who is against God is a defeated enemy. And some of us are angry, and that's okay. Some of us have questions for God, and that's okay too. But the length of our pain cannot limit the strength of our God. And so I want to begin our word tonight by reading from the Bible to you, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 down to 18. It reads this. And now, dear brothers and sisters, we want you to know. Everyone say no. What will happen Return to the believers who have died, so you will not grieve like people with no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and was raised to life again, we also believe that when Jesus returns, God will bring back with him the believers who had died. We tell you this directly from the Lord. We who are still living when the Lord returns will not meet him ahead of those who have died. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a commanding shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet call of God. First, the Christians who have died will rise from their graves. Then, together with them, we who are still alive and remain on the earth will be caught up in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Then we will be with the Lord forever. So encourage each other with these words. Aren't they beautiful words? You know, Malcolm X, if he was to die at the age of 25, he would have only been known as a street hustler named Detroit Red. If Martin Luther King Jr. was to die at 25, he would have only been known as a Baptist preacher. Don't raise your hand if you know this guy. Tupac Shakur dies at 25, and yet his influence through his music lives on today. No one else has had a greater impact in the hip-hop world than Tupac Shakur, and he died at just 25. But one little Us dies at 20. And look at his reach. Look at his influence. At a young life. This life represents a life lived. It represents a life lived in the purpose of God. There are many great singers, but not many have influence. But the most amazing thing is that Lafai only moved here in New South Wales on April 9, 2014. We only had him for just under 2 years. And look at his impact. Doesn't it make you jealous? It makes me jealous. I thought about this and how he had influence. Michael had influence because he was raised by parents in the things of faith. Michael had influence because he experienced the love of when families sit together and eat meals together. He always rocked up at our house when it was mealtime. He knew when that was. Took his place at our table, ate our food, and we talked and we laughed. And he always said, this just reminds me of home. Michael had influence because life for him wasn't fickle. He knew his gifts, and so he didn't waste time being a pretender living someone else's life. He lived in his God-given purpose. But the greatest thing, whether you are of faith or not, is that Michael had influence because he worked for something greater than himself. And that was by using his gifts and talents to serve God by serving his church. Michael had influence because he knew how to love like Christ. He loved God like Christ. He loved his parents like Christ. He loved his sisters and brother like Christ. His family like Christ. People like Christ. His church like Christ. His girlfriend like Christ. Every time we got together, it was always the same line for Michael. Whether he called me on the phone or whether he sent me an SMS or whether he knocked on my door, it was always, Us, I've got something to tell you. And Us for us as Islanders is also USO, means bro or brother. You know, like being in Australia, you know, everything gets shortened. Smoko, Franco, Jono. Well, us Islanders in Australia, we thought, well, we better shorten it. So we went from USO to US, which is UCE. Same amount of letters, got something to tell you. I said, what's that? I'm going to come with you to the haven. Have you asked Grant? No, I haven't, but I thought I better get your okay first before I go and talk to Grant. I said, it's up to you. You talk to Grant. Oos! I've got something to tell you. What's that? I like this girl named Taylor Ferris, and I don't know how to ask her out. Oos, are you coming with me to the haven, or are you going to the haven for Taylor? I'm kind of lost here. How do I ask her out? Just be like Elvis Presley in his movies, man. Sing every line. And I remember what Haley talked about that first time he got up here and he sang. And I remember looking at the young people in our church and some of the mothers. They were, oh, there was trouble, man. Tall, dark, and handsome, and he could move like that and sing like that. Oos! I've got something to tell you. What's that, bro? I love Taylor. Already? It's 1 week. 1 hour. But I knew he did. Oh, so I've got something to tell you. What's that, bro? I'm going to America to see Taylor. And we would dream about church land, and we would dream dreams and worship. And he came again and he said, oh, I've got something to tell you. I said, what's that? I'm going to go do theology at Avondale. What? I was kind of jealous. Because he was so good with words. The way he said them, his inflections. And I knew he would be an awesome preacher. Not only an awesome preacher, but then his eyes will melt his congregation. Just... And then he would just sing his appeal. Turn your eyes. I'm the only Islander they can't sing. I was at the TAB when God was giving out those tones. But don't worry, I'm a saved sinner now. But we won't get to see what could be. For death has united us here tonight. And death has been bashing us. Oh, has been bashing us for as long as we can remember. You know, when we look at scripture, we got Genesis 3 and the first time that humanity fall. And there's this picture, and God's love is amazing because God says, this one tree, just don't touch it and don't eat from it. But you can eat from all of these trees. What a loving God that is. But Adam and Eve, they chose to know better, and they eat from this tree, and they bring in this power called sin, and then this power of sin brings another power, which is death. And in Genesis 3, death stands and says, I've got something to tell you. Death rules. In Genesis 4, there's these two brothers, Cain and Abel, and they both bring offerings to God. But God accepts Abel's and not Cain, and Cain gets jealous, and he murders his brother. And death stands and says, I've got something to tell you. Death rules. In Genesis 6, we have the great flood. And there's this wonderful man named Noah who preaches and tries to move people. But even he doesn't escape death. And death stands and says, I've got something to tell you. Death rules. Habakkuk. If you're a Christian family and you want to know if that guy's a man of God, you ask him, have you read from Habakkuk lately? If he hasn't, send him to your pastor. Habakkuk comes to the people of Israel as a prophet, and he preaches the truth so powerfully and so profound, and even no matter how close he gets to God, he meets death. And death says, I've got something to tell you. The Apostle Peter, in a time when Nero was persecuting Christians, Peter stands tall for God's church. But even he meets death. And death stands and says, I've got something to tell you. Death rules. The Apostle Paul, a man who hated Christians. I mean, he would go to great lengths just to persecute them. But he hated Christians. But the most amazing thing happens, he becomes a Christian himself. And he becomes one of the Bible's most prolific writers. But even he meets death. And death stands and says, I've got something to tell you. Death rules. In our world, we have seen some great thinkers, some great inventors, some great humans who have done some extraordinary things. But even they meet death. And death says, I've got something to tell you. Death rules. That's why I love my Bible. Because my Bible tells me that love is stronger than death. We have been in the ring with death. Last week to now. And some of us have got a black eye from death. Some of us have got a black eye and a fat lip from death. Some of us are just bleeding eternally because of being in the ring with death. But I want to tell you that 2,000 years ago, love stepped into that same ring that we are in. And love says, go, death. You have been bashing up my people for far too long. And love put on its gloves, put on his mouth guard. And he says, you know what, death? I'm going to slow your roll. And so 2,000 years ago, love and death fought all over Jerusalem. They fought on the mountaintops. They fought in the valley. They fought in the wilderness. They fought on the seas. They fought all the way to the cross until death put love in the grave. And death said, I've got something to tell you. Death rules. I've just bashed you like I've bashed every single person. And so Friday night, in his victory, death decides to have a party. And they celebrate. But they don't want to just party Friday night. They want to go on a bender. So they want to keep partying all of Saturday morning. Saturday lunch, they continue to party in their victory because love is asleep in the grave. They party all of Saturday night. But early, what day? Early Sunday morning, love woke up. Love woke up and said, look here, death, I've got something to tell you. I told you I was going to slow your roll. Now come here. And love grabbed death and brought death in tight. And love reached into death and took the sting out of it. And it love grabbed death. And love reached in and took the victory out of the grave. And love says to us here tonight, he says to you, I have overcome the world. Love says to you tonight, I've got something to tell you. I have defeated death. Love says, I've got something to tell you. I am the resurrection. Love says, I've got something to tell you tonight. I may be with my Father in heaven, but I am coming back for you. Love says, I've got something to tell you tonight. That when I come back, I'm going to take you to a place where there will be no more death, no more mourning, no more pain, no more crying. But for now, love says, let the tears roll. But for now, feel every ounce of the pain. Grieving and mourning is enough for now. But no, we are not without hope. Understand this. Our loved ones, we may lose them outwardly, but we will never lose them inwardly. And so may the love of God and the hope of Christ and the peace of the Holy Spirit and the sweet essence of knowing that you are a child of God keep you in this season of pain. Death doesn't rule. Love is stronger than death. Love will last forever because God is love. This song epitomizes Lafayette. This is the song that just sums him up. This is living. It's a fast song, but he did it so well. And we're going to start with a clip where he would normally do the rap in this song. Even when it wasn't his band, he would just jump up and do the rap. You're going to see the rap first, and then we're going to sing this song. This is our final song for tonight. And then the parents are going to make an address to us. And we will eat, family. We will eat. I'll be back. But I didn't know how this happens, but I've got auntie. You know, to see my son Damon come up and do a speech, that's not him. For him, he shocked me. And the reason why he did it was because of what Lafayette would do to him, was always encouraging. And unbeknownst to me, he comes and stands next to me and says, "Dad, can I sing the rap?" And I was like, "No." You might make me look like a fool. I didn't say that. I was like, "No, because I want to rap." No, joking. So we're going to watch the rap and then we're going to sing this song. And my brave little boy, God bless him. He's going to give it a crack, son. So we'll leave it in the band's hands. Thank you, band. What's the hope? What's the time for the listen? The life of a given to give the moment of the change. So what's the dream on? What's the hope? What's the time for the listen? The life of a given to give the you are you will never do. Sweet and great slow, taste the tendency of the place to be. I mean, don't forget I know. I'm doing the good of the high road.
Put up your hand if you don't want to hear another speech. This is not a speech if you're thinking so. I'm thinking I have the courage to come up and stand before you. Since the accident, I hit rock bottom. when I got the call on that Tuesday afternoon, I said, God, it's over. I'm heading over the other side. I ask you for protection every night and every morning for my son. And what are you doing to me? We got ready to come up here. And slowly, I got the strength from everyone. Strangers, families and friends. And this morning, I hit rock bottom again. When I went to see the car that put an end to my only son's life. One of my sons. And I didn't think I had the courage to stand before you tonight. But I think my son would have liked me to get up and crack a joke. Get out of here. I don't need you. I got my son's strength. I told some college students on Sunday the real reason why my son left. And I'm sure a lot of you don't know that. And this is why he left. Because he couldn't compete with me in Melbourne. And it was funny. Because as long as he's under my shadow, he's always be number 2. And seeing what I've seen tonight. All this time that I was being a star, well, I haven't inspired anybody. For so many years, apart from my wife. Because she's scared of me. Because she loves me so much. I've got so many stories about my son. I was so proud of my boy. Do you know when we left? I don't know how many days I cried. My wife is a lot stronger than you can tell. I cried and it makes her cry as well. I was like a baby, I was like a girl. I have a very soft spot for myself. I told him that. Son, what are you doing to me? You're breaking my heart. And my wife was saying, hey, he's alive, he's not dead. I said, I know that. But I miss him so much. And there's one very big regret that I have about my son. He came one day and he said, Dad, I have a gig. And what do you think about it? I'm going to sing in a bar, in these places, restaurants. And I said, son, you know my look. And he can see the look in my eyes. Son, you only sing for the Lord. You know the father I was. I didn't want him to sing for the devil, that's what I thought. And I said, you do what you want to do. can't stop you, son. He went, and that Sunday morning he went, and all his sisters, his mum went, all his friends from church, families from church, and I didn't go. I was that strong, stupid man, doing my work at home, and I didn't care. But deep in my heart I was hurting. I regret I didn't have the chance to tell my son the real reason why I didn't come. I told my wife the reason. Because I didn't see my son fail up there. It's gonna hurt me. What if he sings and people get up and go outside? It'll kill me. I regret I didn't tell my son that. And in my phone we had so many texts. I don't know how many times we text each other. And when he left, that's the very first time I said sorry to my son. I said, son, I'm so sorry for everything. I'm sorry to fail you. I failed as a dad. And he texted me and said, Dad, you didn't fail me at all. You stood up for me. You worked hard for me. You done everything you could for me. And up to this day, I still blame myself. And let me tell you a story. Come up to his last year in college. And throughout all his school years, he was in production. You might see his talent, acting, singing. And he was a star. He was the main man in the production. And he came to me and said, Dad, what do you think? The production team, the teachers, we had a meeting and they said that the production will start on Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Sabbath night, Friday night. I didn't tell my son yes or no. I said, son, you know what me and your mum will teach you. You know what to do. You know the right thing to do. And you know what God wants you to do. I'm not going to tell you. You do it. You do what you want to do. So he left. He went back to the school. They had a meeting. And the master told him that he's not going to be in it. And the production team would probably say, what's the point of having this if he's not in it? So they had a meeting and they changed from Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. And that's the faith my son had. And from then on, I knew it was destined for something great. I'm sure that you see my son. You see the things that the jokes and stuff that my son said. When people looked at me and saw me, and I say, some funny stuff and said, that's where he gets it from. And before I say final words, I would like to read you something. I'm only going to read you something short. The rest of what he put in is for his sweetheart. Today, I questioned if I was destined to deal with which was in front of me, or destined to achieve greater things. I don't know what's in store for me in the future. But what I do know is God has it under control. And I want Him to lead me every step of the way. And that was my son. I had a long talk with him on Monday night, not knowing that was our last conversation. We shared a few things, and he kept telling me about his Nimrod, who cares? His Wayne, his Haley, who cares? His John. What's your wife's name, John? What's his name? Melissa. His Andrew. His Andrea. And a whole lot of people, Danny. And a whole lot of people that matter to him. And all the time he wanted us to come and meet everybody. To show us around to the people that cared so much for him. And most of all, the love of his life. And on behalf of the woman that's living with me right now, which is Michael's mum. Wow. My daughter Florence, my daughter Tatiana, my daughter Faith, my son Josh, and our little baby Emma, Jericho, which is not here with us, Harry, our son-in-law, Chris, our son-in-law, and Terwila, Lafay's little niece. From the bottom of our hearts, we can't thank you enough. We just can't thank you enough. We are speechless. And my son was only here for a little while. But as I looked around tonight, what can I say? And what we have heard tonight, my heart is so many caring people. I'm sorry, all of those you young girls who are probably thinking of asking it. As afraid, to be there afraid. Thank you so much for loving me. Josh is here. I know you're a bit too small for the trailer. You're her little brother now, right, Taylor? Josh is your little brother. And what can I say? To all the families, I was going to say to all the girls, to all the families that took my son in as the road son. To those who opened the doors for our son. To to those who love him as a son, as a brother, I thank you all. And this is not the end. I said to my wife, every holidays I take, I want to come with you. See the place that he loves so much and the people that he loves so much. Thank you for your support. Those who write to us on social media, those who came up to hug us, kiss us, encourage us. Oh, you've done so much. Your financial help, only God knows. Only God knows. We have nothing to pay you back. Absolutely nothing. But our prayers and our wishes that God will bless you all. That God will continue to live in your lives and to help you grow in whatever ways that our son touch your lives. And you know what? I say to the devil, no, I'm not coming to your side. My son has made me strong. And you know, we're not taking any credit for it. All you guys that thanks us for bringing him up, believe me, you're not taking any credit whatsoever. All the credit goes to God. Amen. When my two girls were born, I asked for a son. It's not that I didn't love my girls, but I asked for a son. And God gave me a son. But there was something that God didn't do for me. He didn't let me read the fine prints. You know, when you sign a contract, there are all these fine prints that we can't even read. He didn't let me read the fine prints that tells me that he will only loan us Lafai for 20 years and 6 months. But you know what? That was enough. Even though my heart is broken, but God, that was enough. There is a song that me, Lafai, and Joshua will always sing at funerals. And I never thought that I would sing at my son's funeral as well. And you know, this one more thing. As I said, I got so much. Before we sing, Faith, come up here. Faith will take over my dear son's part. And because I do preach. And every time I got called to preach outside my own church, I will call my son. And I said, son, I'm preaching. And my son will say to me, Dad, what is your topic? What are you going to sing about? What do you want me to do for you? I said, son, this is what the topic is. And my son, he will show up. Even though he has a lot to do here, worship, he got so much to do. but he dropped him off to come down on Thursday. And he would show up either Friday night or Saturday morning, sing for me, and return on Sunday. And that I will never forget. Robin, Brian, Charlie, and all the boys. I know you're doing it tough. But I think you are big enough and ugly enough to take it. We'll be back, boys. We'll be back, family. And my son has created a bond. Thank you so much. We love you. I'm sorry if your voice cracked up a little bit. We'll try our best. And this is for you, my son.
with us. It was the last haka that Lafai did. And Lafai stood here to my right. And so here he stands with us again today. I don't mean to take you out of spotlight, Bruce, but just for a second. Because Lafai knew the significance of the pack, not just the one. He knew both, but he knew the significance of all of us, not just the one of us. Let me read this. So this is our haka. We call it the Etura, but it's straight out of your Bibles. You guys flip to Ephesians 6:11-17. This is what it reads. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against the flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of the evil heavenly realms, of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand. Stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of our God. I need to say nothing more, because Lafai personified that passage. He put on the armor with us, and here he puts it on with us again.
Johnny Tate! Etura! 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 Johnny Tate! Johnny Tate!
Thank you very much, boys. I'm just going to say a prayer of benediction, and then we're going to need your help. If every aisle, once I finish praying, could just put your seats in the stack and then push it to the far wall, and then our caterers are going to bring tables and line them down the hall here and bring us some refreshments so that we can all get something to eat, because it's been a long time. Well, welcome to a Samoan family service. Amen. It's never half an hour, man, but the way we do family, and we thank you so much for your patience, and we thank you so much for your love and your time here tonight. Allow me to leave you with a blessing. Let's pray. Gracious Father in heaven, Jesus, your only Son and eternal Spirit, we honor and we praise you for the life that was lived in Lafayette Michael Key. Lord, we just give you the praise and all the glory in the way that this young man's life has impacted us. And so, Father, now, as we leave here, I ask that you will bless each and every one of us. May we leave here in your favor. And may you bless this food as we have community together. In Jesus' name I pray. And everybody said, Amen. Amen. God bless. Love you.